We are 5 months in to that 2-week war turned ceasefire, turned kinetic action, turned war again, but it's only called a war on Truth Social or something. But now there is a new plan to resolve this conflict, and it's coming from the United States Central Command. And their plan is essentially to send a group message, an email, and ask, anybody got any ideas? And we know how seriously Pete Hegseth's Department of Ultimate Jacked Up Testosterone-Filled Epic Warrior War Defense Department takes group messaging. And look, I wish I was joking, but this is a real thing. An actual real-life sentence from an actual real-life Pentagon email that was sent to a whole bunch of military analysts, quote, "We are looking for new, creative, and unconventional ways to pressure and punish Iran." I mean, Jesus, this reads like it's the sign-up sheet for your work potluck. Bring your best casserole or your best way to punish a sovereign nation. Whatever you got time for. And Ted, please only bring the paper plates because we know what happened last time you tried to cook. But look, now the funniest part is that CENTCOM's spokesperson defended this email, by the way, calling it, quote, "a long history of thinking and working in innovative ways." Yep, innovative. Crowdsourcing war plans certainly sounds innovative to me because somewhere a guy out there may have put down his Xbox controller from playing Black Ops 7 long enough to send a GIF of the coyote in a rocket-powered batsuit in pursuit of the Roadrunner. And hell, in this Department of War, he might get a medal for that. And look, the Pentagon is not just out of ideas. They're also out of missiles. Reuters is reporting that the Army has used virtually all of its long-range precision missiles, you know, the accurate ones. We kind of want accuracy. We've already burned through nearly half of our global Tomahawk supply. Patriot interceptors down from about 2,200 to less than 800. The THAAD interceptors cut by more than a third. In other words, we've blown through a ton of our munitions and have accomplished absolutely nothing. Now, the Pentagon, Sean Parnell, the chief spokesperson for the Pentagon, responded to try to calm all of our nerves, saying, quote, "America's military is the most powerful in the world and has everything it needs," end quote. Remember that. Because Donald Trump a few weeks ago also, on the record, has said, quote, "We have far more munitions than anyone in the world, far more than we need," end quote. Far more than we need. And yet we are currently down to the last third of our missile defense interceptors in a war that Trump said would be over around spring break. And the official position is we have more than we need. That must be why the Pentagon is sending Pete Hegseth out there in front of Congress to beg for more money. And somehow still blame this all on Democrats.
The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership?
We have leadership.
When will you show leadership?
Why don't you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money? You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
Secretary Hegseth, you have trillions, you have over $1 trillion. You're asking for $1.5 trillion. It's not a question of money. It's a question of leadership and understanding what it takes to actually win.
Political cowardice of Democrats who won't fund the troops.
Yes, this is leadership. We have everything we need except for ideas and money for bombs because of the Democrats. But we've won the war. But we also can't win it because of the Democrats. And look, this might be our big strategy here. Confuse everyone about whether we're even fighting a war, what our capabilities are, how much munitions we have left, and hell, what even continent our enemy is on. Tehran? No. Just the wrong side of the aisle at the Capitol building. Now look, I've got to ask, how do you run a war when you are out of both plans and ammunition? Well, the first thing that this Department of Defense did was firing the guy who was telling the truth. And if you recall, the very day after Donald Trump's primetime address on this war, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, fired the Army's Chief of Staff, General Randy George, told him to retire immediately, along with 2 more generals, on the same day. Now, General George, his big offense here, as far as anyone can tell, was that he was actively working to get equipment and troops into the region to protect the Americans that were already there, in the middle of a war. You know, logistics. So apparently that was not hardcore enough for old Hegseth, so he fired him. And looking broadly, we've seen 24 generals and admirals fired or sidelined in the last year. Pete fired the Secretary of the Navy. One of the generals he pushed out had reportedly pushed back on Hegseth's block of black and female officers from promotions. And look, what do you think it would take for Congress to actually exercise their war powers here? Or has that ship sailed for good? Is there nothing they can do? Tell me in the comments. Because Congress is trying to act. Senator John Ossoff already tried the version of that question. And all he got was a overly sweaty Hegseth throwing a word salad tantrum of non-answers back at him.
But their
Mr. Secretary,
the lowest level
you
they've been in a
stated
very
that
long time.
on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Secretary. You said on day 14 Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Yes or no, was that an accurate statement?
What the American military has
Will you
done
answer
to
the
the
question?
Iranian military is a historic military
Will you
defeat,
answer the
and
question
they're ineffective
under oath?
in that context.
And that's just a slice, because that exchange lasted for 5.5 minutes. Saying on day 14 of this conflict, you stated Iran's military had been destroyed and made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement, yes or no? 4 times Ossoff asked that. And 4 times Hegseth gave him rambling answers that amounted to anything but the word yes. Meanwhile, Donald Trump posted yet again this weekend that we've already won the war, 3 days before his own command went looking for creative ideas because they clearly have not won. And by the way, as of the filming of this, Donald Trump has made statements that amounted to changing the status of the war, like, it's over, it's back on. We're this close, it's over, it's back on. Around 42 times. And he's even called off large-scale strikes 7 times, publicly that we know of. And you know who's noticed this contradiction faster than anybody else? Iran. Their embassy posting photos of all of the fired generals with big X's over their faces, captioned, "The regime change happened successfully, MAGA." And look, I have no love for the country of Iran, but someone has a marketing job open that needs to be calling whoever is running their content. Now look, on a serious note, American troops have died in this war, at least 18, likely more. And yet Donald Trump stood at that podium and said every single family of the fallen told him to finish the job. And I told you long ago that one of those fathers, a music teacher named Charles Simmons, has already gone on the record saying that that conversation never happened, at least not with him. But look, at least we're in good hands because our military leadership is fresh out of ideas, fresh out of munitions, out of money, and we have a president that started a war, allegedly, to distract us from all of the other terrible crap he's done and now can't figure out a way to end it. And I've got to tell you, you would be very surprised at how much simple things like liking or commenting or sharing our stories, how much of a difference that makes. Especially on a story that the Pentagon was hoping would never leak out of their signal chat.